We begin to follow Jesus' story this morning in the Gospel according to Luke, chapter 1, verses 26 through 38. In the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent by God to a town in Galilee called Nazareth, to a virgin engaged to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David. The virgin's name was Mary. And he came to her and said, "Greetings, favored one, the Lord is with you." But she was much perplexed by his words and pondered what sort of greeting this might be. The angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. And now you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you will name him Jesus. He will be great, and he will be called the Son of the Most High. And the Lord God will give to him the throne of his ancestor David. He will reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there will be no end." Mary said to the angel, "How can this be, since I am a virgin?" The angel said to her, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore the child to be born will be holy. He will be called Son of God. And now your relative Elizabeth, in her old age, has also conceived a son. And this is the 6th month for her, who was said to be barren. For nothing will be impossible with God." Then Mary said, "Here am I, the servant of the Lord. Let it be with me according to your word." Then the angel departed from her. This is the word of God. Thanks be to God.
The next reading this morning comes from the words of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. This is the word that Isaiah, son of Amos, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. In the days to come, the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established as the highest of mountains, and shall be raised above the hills, and all nations will stream to it. Many people shall come and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may teach us his ways, that we may walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth instruction, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He will judge between the nations and arbitrate for many peoples, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. O house of Jacob, come, let us walk in the light of the Lord." Friends, this is the word of God.
Thanks be to God.
So here we are in Advent. Happy new liturgical year, as we were discussing last week. And as you know, Advent, which takes place during the 4 Sundays before Christmas, is a time that is meant to help us prepare for Christmas. Now, I imagine that we are all preparing for Christmas already in a lot of ways, yeah? Who has put up their Christmas tree already? Anybody else who just started to decorate, but you haven't gotten to the tree, but you started? Okay. Has anyone bought Christmas gifts yet? Wow, lots of, dang, I'm behind. Okay, who has, anybody started baking or started making those handmade gifts, yarn-based gifts or food? I see you would like to have there is wrapping paper in the drugstore checkout line, and you can't even go really to the gas station without feeling like there's something that you need to buy in order for Christmas preparations, right? We're well aware that we need to get ready for Christmas, it seems like. Do we really need the season of Advent to remind us? Well, during the season of Advent this year, the first readings in our services will follow the story of Mary. So you heard today the angel come to her and tell her that she would be pregnant and that she was going to be the mother of God. We'll keep following her each week as she continues on that journey. And then the second reading, we're going to be reading from the book of Isaiah. Isaiah is a prophet who wrote a very long time ago. We've talked before about his people, who he was writing to. The nation of Judah was a really small group of people, and they were vassals. That's like a 5th grade history word, right? They were taxed and indebted by a stronger power, the Babylonians. And at one point they had a king who said, we don't want to pay these taxes anymore. And the Babylonians said, oh, that's really cute. And they came and destroyed everything. They tore the temple to bits. They destroyed people's homes and livelihoods. And they took the people, the important people who had any power or influence out of the country and took them back to Babylon, where they lived in what was called exile, right? So Isaiah's people have lost their homes. They have seen God's temple destroyed. They might feel defeated, hopeless. They might be concerned or confused about whether their God had been beaten. Should they still worship God, or should they now worship the Babylonians' God? Is that how it should go, maybe? And it's hard, as you know, when you feel things like that, to imagine a future, right? Anxiety and fear make it impossible for us to see what could be next. And so Isaiah speaks words to the people about a future. They probably didn't understand this prophetic word to be like a word for word, exactly like this is what will happen next week or next year, but they understood it as something that was true on a deeper level. You know what I'm saying? These are true things that Isaiah is telling them about the way that things are and the way that God will care for them. So here we are, all the month of December, going back to the prophet Isaiah, thinking about our own desolate places, right? The places where we maybe can't see a future, and listening to this with new ears. Or maybe actually not listening, but seeing. Did you notice that's how the passage began today? It said the word that Isaiah saw. So instead of just passively hearing or receiving this, Isaiah invites us to join him in imagining the thing that he is describing, thinking about what it would look like in our own lives. One of the characteristics of all the passages that we are going to read in Isaiah in the season of Advent is this idea of the presence of abundance. There's more than enough. And we're kind of primed for this, right? In a season that is full of decorating that's way over the top, or wanting to shower people we love with just tons of presents, or wanting to stuff people full of really good food, we kind of get the abundance thing. Modern American customs are speaking to the same kind of yearnings that people have had for ages and ages. But there is, of course, something a little bit different about what's happening, what Isaiah sees. So his vision begins with God's own house, the temple in Jerusalem. And instead of lying in ruins, it's now rebuilt, and it's strong, and it's beautiful, and people are coming from everywhere to it. And they're coming from everywhere because they can see it. It's at the top of the tallest mountain, raised so high everyone can easily find it and come to it. And all of these people from all over the world, people from different races and nationalities and traditions, are coming to learn about God and are seeking peace. Isn't that such a beautiful vision? This idea of unity, of people coming to seek what we long for, wisdom and prosperity and peace. But it also, to Isaiah's original audience, seemed a little ridiculous. Just for reference, Mount Everest is over 29,000 feet high. Kilimanjaro, 19,340. Mount Washington, 6,288 feet high. And Mount Zion, where God's house is, 2,500 feet. Just barely beats Mount Wachusett, okay? So in Isaiah's vision, this the hill, right, and its insignificant population are somehow transformed into something way larger. So what, I wonder, are the small and insignificant things in our own lives? What are the tiniest dreams or hopes that we have? And what would happen if we imagined them like Mount Zion increased by a factor of 10? And the abundance and the vision doesn't end there. One of the most famous passages in Isaiah follows it. On this impossibly tall mountain, visited by all kinds of different people from all over the world, God will make peace. And the people will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. It's a little bit telling, I think, that we all kind of know what a sword or a pruning, or we know what a sword or a spear is, but a plow or a pruning hook, I had to look it up. I did do some research. A plowshare, did you know this, is the front part of the plow that turns the dirt over. Is that some nodding? Okay, good. I'm like, Casey, I feel like you would know this. So a plow, of course, is one of the human inventions that has revolutionized the way that people live, right? When we learned how to cultivate crops and regulate agriculture, it was a totally new way of life. Instead of going to forage, always constantly seeking enough to eat, people could plan and could plant and could store. With a plow, there is potential for abundance. And same with the pruning hook, right? Think of just modern, like the shears you use, right? Or like clippers in your garden. In the cultivation of trees for food, pruning can help to promote growth, to provide more resources of food for a community. So these weapons of war and conflict, the sword and spear, used then as now to keep great wealth in the hands of a few, become transformed into the tools of nourishing a whole community. Isn't that beautiful? Can you imagine it? What, I wonder, are the weapons of war and conflict in our own lives, in our personal lives, in our communal lives, that might be transformed into the tools of community this Advent? What energy and creative potential might be unlocked? Have you seen that statue at the UN? It's a gun and the end is tied in a knot. Quotes this passage underneath. Can we even imagine this kind of peace? But the most important part of this vision is not the ridiculous growth of Mount Zion or the gorgeous image of transformation and peace. The most important part that makes all the rest of these things possible is one little detail. God is there. In all of our preparations for Christmas, we echo the same Advent longings as Isaiah's community. We want a family meal where conflict and strife are magically transformed into peaceful and loving celebration. We want to provide enough, more than enough, for all the people we love around us. And we've been taught to believe that the way to get these things, the way to feel the deep longings of our souls, is by spending money, setting the perfect tablescape, recreating some Norman Rockwell vision of life that never really actually existed for anyone. And somewhere along the way, we've become misled. The only thing that will fill our souls this season, the only thing powerful enough to provide peace and abundance and transformation, the things that we're looking for, is the presence of God among us. So this Advent, we'll be thinking about gifts each week. But not the list of people that you have to buy for. Instead, we are thinking about the gifts we already have, how we can use the gifts that God has given us, and we will look for gifts in unexpected places, joining in small activities to practice finding those gifts, all in anticipation of God's gift to us on Christmas morning. Today's reverse offering is just our first Advent activity, a chance to practice generosity and care, interrupting familiar patterns of purchasing, decorating, and feasting. And hopefully, as we engage these activities this Advent, we'll find the presence of God among us. That's the only preparation we really need. I would love to go home and decorate the house and put up the Christmas tree and bake the cookies. Who has time for that? I don't. So it's peace to me. The only transformation, the only preparation that we really need is what God does inside our hearts. The love of God makes all homes beautiful. The love of God brings peace to conflict. The love of God transforms a little into more than enough. So let's prepare to receive the love of God and the presence of Christ this season. Amen.